It don't
Right. So this show is called Men and Their Emotions, and then there's me.
No, this is the Annie and Jared show. I'm just a sidekick.
No.
All right, so we're talking about love languages. So talk to me, Jared. What's been your experience with love languages?
All right. Like we were saying before the show started, when I was production supervisor, we had two very popular psychiatrists come in. The same women that worked with the group when Twin Towers burned down and 9/11. Those people. So we were having issues with the culture in the work environment. So one of the things they did was the what is it called?
The love languages.
The love languages. All right. Mine's were.
So should I list them first? Should I list what they are?
Yes, ma'am.
So the 5 love languages, if you don't know, the quiz is online. It's really easy to take. Words of affirmation, and they rank you. So they rank you and give you a percentage. So words of affirmation, receiving gifts, physical touch, acts of service, and what's the other one? Words of quality time. Yes.
Quality time. Yes.
Quality time. Yes. So now they all have aloha. Oh, I can't click on it. I'm not the host. Felicia said hi.
Hey,
What's up, Felicia?
So what it means is, in case people don't understand, is it ranks you and gives you a percentage of how you at the most receive love. So how you feel the most loved by these love languages. So tell me about your experience.
Mine are
KDJ.
gift giving.
Receiving gifts.
Receiving gifts. The next are words of affirmations, meaning letting me know, hey, you're doing a good job. And I realized by talking to those psychiatrists why my love language is what it is. Coming up, we didn't receive that many gifts. So I kind of put it to the back of my brain because we were poor and we just wasn't doing that as much, that somehow that I don't like gifts, because as a kid, I didn't really get a lot. I didn't hear words of affirmation as much coming up. Looking back, when I took the test, I realized that I was lying to myself. I love gifts, even though I don't receive them as much. But I manage these hotels. The owners just fixed me a nice plate of Indian food. To me, I'm happy as I can be.
Yep.
It lets me know that, to me, you can give me a gift or give me words of affirmations before you can give me money. And I'm satisfied with that.
So it makes you feel loved. So when people misconstrue receiving gifts, that's mine as well. It's like really high with words of affirmation. It's not about big gestures, although big gestures are fine too. But like little, it's much more about thoughtfulness and someone putting the time in to show you love and to get you something and to get to know Jairus and to get you to do something for you that will show you love. That's a gift to you. So it doesn't necessarily have to be this tangible thing, but like you said, so there's also some crossover. So acts of service is also being made a meal. So that crossed over with acts of service for you.
Yes.
So receiving gifts and acts of service, they're a little bit overlapping there because that's actually someone doing something for you. But receiving gifts is really the thought that's put into. So what it makes me think of is when you were a child, you sort of shunned your way of receiving love because it just wasn't done. So therefore, in ways you felt unloved because you didn't know how to receive love in other ways. Spot on. Right?
Spot on. Very correct.
How does that translate when you're an adult?
I think that's the question, and to help, if I may, ask you all to help me figure out so the audience can see what we have going on. Just following up from the past 2 weeks. As an adult, I notice now the reason why, looking at little Jairus, I understand why I acted the way I act. I had a conversation with my mother. I didn't get the confidence or words of affirmation growing up. So I would always look to other people for reassurance of what I'm doing, questioning my own self. Even till this day, I cannot make a decision sometimes. I mean, I literally have to go any, mini, mighty, mo. Whether that's cutting off a tie. I could be dealing with somebody I know that is toxic and does not care for me. but it's hard for me at times to make a decision. I think in my adult life, decision making is one of the number one problems I have.
Is loyalty a huge core value of yours?
Super big, the biggest.
Yeah. I mean, that it's a thread throughout everything that you say. Loyalty. I said, she's like, is that anything? Loyalty is threaded throughout everything that you're saying. And that's why it's so hard for you to cut someone off, even if they're toxic, because you feel that you're being disloyal to them. And that chips real hard away at your core value, which is loyalty. It's such a big value of yours.
Yes, especially when it's somebody that I feel has been loyal to me in the past or loyal to the overall cause. I don't have any problem cutting off people that I feel like, don't deserve it or not worthy. They're just, okay, I can drop you quick. But it's the ones that I feel like, okay, this person tried to do something. Even if it was 2 years ago, I still have a strong sense of loyalty. I also have a very strong sense of faith. Like, I believe in people.
You believe in the good in people.
I always. And it's very hard for me to, even if I see the bad, if you show me one thing of good, let's just say somebody that I know was a thief, and I was with you when you could have stolen, and you tell me, man, I want to steal so bad, but I'm not going to do it because I know it's wrong. Okay. Even if you steal every time after that one incident that I see,
what you remember.
I'm going to say, look.
You key right in on the good. You want to ignore the bad because you actually, okay. I'm starting to really get you. I'm starting to really understand you. So what we have to remember for you is that when you aren't taking care of yourself, you're actually being disloyal to little Jairus. You're being disloyal to you. So when you have a hard time cutting off somebody, even if they're toxic, you're breaking that loyalty bond with yourself. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Keep going.
So, Mike, anything?
Your show, you run it.
Yeah, it's not my show.
No, I really want your insights, Mike, because you know me a little bit too, right? And I feel like this is the time where your insights are stronger than mine, Mike. And you tap around, don't talk to me.
So here's where I was at for so long, right? For me, I leaned into my empathy and ignored my intuition. And because I wanted to believe in everyone, because I wanted to see the best in them, my empathy ruled me, and I always let them get away with it time and time again. What I realized is when I stepped into myself, I started valuing myself more, and it helped me to cut ties very quickly because I know my value, and I'm not going to sit back and allow that to be infringed upon. For me, I now lean into my intuition first over my empathy. My intuition runs my empathy. And it's a much more direct way to live right now. I'm still empathic. I'm still sympathetic. I'm still compassionate. I'm still harsh as hell and blunt as possible. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the fact that now I just rule my life through my intuition.
Outside out.
It's inside out, not outside out. And I now live my life that way, and I guide myself by my intuition. You're not losing my AirPods again, kid. We still haven't found any other ones. So for me, I think that's what you're doing because it's very similar to me. And because I never received love as a child the way that I needed to, I have a lot of the same experience that you do. My thing is touch, and then by default, quality time because touch is impossible.
Yes,
So
it's like puppy.
Yes, you're wearing. Yes, you look like Poppy.
But
No, Poppy has long hair. Yes, you don't have long pink hair. If you stop touching my razor, you probably have a chance of getting long hair. And stop putting butter in your hair. That's the other part of this. So it's really, I really believe that that's a huge part of it. my empathy has always been so strong, and I always used that to cover my own emotions because I was so numb that it really blinded me to so much. So by leaning into my intuition, a door slammer, what a shock. By leaning into my intuition, it allows me to be guided by truth and what I see, and also be loyal to myself and also value myself. I know Nancy said loyal to yourself somewhere up there, but it's also about value. I value myself more now, and I know my worth now, and I know where I will compromise and where I won't compromise. I think that's a big part of it at this point.
And I think when you're seeing you said that somebody could do 10 things and one of them could be good and the rest could be bad, and you would only see that one that's good. I think that's chipping away at your core, at your soul. I think that chips away at you because you're getting in your own way with that. If somebody shows you who they are, you got to see it.
And I believe you 100%. The only thing I would add to that is that one good that they're showing me carries so much weight in some kind of weird way, right? That I don't do this with everybody. There's only a certain amount of people that I feel, and I've never been wrong. It's just weird now. I don't know. I'm having to tap into that to figure out why is it just certain people can do certain things. And I say, watch out for this person. Even years ago, when my cousin used to get in all kind of trouble, go in and out of jail. He was 14, right? And I would see him do one thing, and I said, hold on, something different about him. But he still would continue down the wrong path, so to speak. And I would talk to my mother and his mother, and they'd be like, oh, because he's still doing this. I said, y'all, this was years ago. I said, y'all, the boy is something special about him. Now, recently, this was like, I don't know, my son's 10, this over 15 years ago. Within the last 2 years, I see now what I saw. He has did a whole 360. Now, don't get me wrong. He still has times where he, does whatever. But he is my number one supporter. He's the number one person pushing me now. So I'm just like, I can apply this to all the same people. I don't get everybody that passed me, So I'm like, that's why I'm stuck in the middle, because I trust my intuition. It's never let me wrong. Now I'm on a different path. It's like, do I go with what's been working, or do I scratch that and start over?
Well, it hasn't been working. It worked for him, but it hasn't been working because you've had toxic relationships and people that have treated you like shit. So it's not always working, right? We need to get to a place where you value yourself enough and you're worthy enough in your own mind that people can't treat you like that. That it's you're bulletproof. That's not allowed. Jairus doesn't allow that. You can still be loyal as hell. You can still be dedicated, diligent, determined, all those things. And you don't have to chip away at your soul.
So I want to address this question, and I can give my answer first if you want it. To me, my intuition knows no context. My empathy does, but my intuition doesn't. My intuition doesn't guide me wrong no matter the context. Intuition goes straight to the core, and I follow my gut. When it comes to empathy, my empathy gets in the way when it comes to context. It will always give a cop-out, an excuse. It will always want to see the best in people, always want to give them the benefit of the doubt, because I've made such changes. But that's also putting expectations on what I've done to myself on others, right? And I can't do that anymore. I deserve better for myself, and that's how I look at it. Annie, what's your answer? Be quiet, Sid, please.
I mean, I'm a very see the best in people too. But I have to tell you, Jairus, as soon as hi guys, hi everybody, hi Bill, hi Carl Sean. I am really into seeing the best in people, and I want to always give them the benefit of the doubt. But the more I protect myself and the more that I realize who I am and my value and my worth, I can see through the BS. I just see through it. And it's disappointing, but you know what? That's on them. That's not about me. The way people act is not about me.
You're right. And I'm just working on an experiment because the last 2 weeks, my self-value has risen extremely well, right? I know my worth. I was sitting at home. I was just kind of like daydreaming a little bit, meditating to myself, just knowing my worth, just understanding like, okay, you got to give yourself more credit. And I guess I probably zoned out for about 15 minutes. And when I came back to, I had an aha moment, and it was so strong it took my breath, and I had to like really realize where I was at. My mind had took me to some places I had never been. So when I opened my eyes, I was like, "Wow, I'm at home." I didn't realize that. So you are exactly right. Knowing my own value is something that I'm working on, and I think one of the reasons why I never knew my own value because I wanted to stay humble. I know me. I always been humble. I just got that about me, but I got scared of, okay, if I start giving myself too much credit, is that going to change the way I act and the way I treat people? Am I going to be the one trying to take the credit and saying, okay, I know my value now, I'm not dealing with this? Because all this stuff is still new to me, y'all. I learn and grow so quickly that I have to give myself time to process the information based on my core values, based on knowing myself, and based on my just my perception and my understanding of all of my past experience. I don't give myself time to soak in the information.
Well, that's good self-awareness. That's knowing yourself. That's really good self-awareness. The other reason that you don't always value yourself and hold yourself to high esteem is not only about being humble, but it's because you didn't receive love the way you needed to when you were little. And that's not a knock against anybody else, and I'm not pointing fingers, but it is because there are ways we needed to and wanted to receive love when we were little, all of us, and we didn't always get them. Sometimes we never got them. Sometimes we got the opposite. So yeah, you had a family where you were kind of taking care of everybody. You were kind of keeping everybody in line. You were almost like the parent figure. So when that's why you lead and you understand that leadership role, but that piece of being a child is missing. And we have to go back and we have to tell him it's okay to be a child and show him that we do think of him, that thoughtfulness about receiving gifts and those words of affirmation, and tell him those things he needs to hear. That's going to build your value to bulletproof value.
And I've been noticing, I've been doing these daily affirmations now. I write my own. I mean, I know everybody do, but I really get in the zone and take my time to write affirmations based on where I'm at and where I'm trying to get and where I've been. So that has been the forefront and the structure of my affirmations now, making sure I talk to little Jared. And each one of them, I make sure. That's how I started out, telling myself that I'm loved. And I can feel my confidence picking up. Not only that, other people are like, okay, you got another glow about you.
Well, your languaging, Jairus, your languaging is totally different. The way you're speaking about yourself and the way you're looking at what you're doing is totally different than when we started a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
This is called the work.
This is called the work.
This is the work. You're doing it.
All right. Since we talking about the work, I remember having to write the letter to little Jairus. I think that's when we first started. The next thing, last week you asked me to write 10 minutes when I wake up or just a while before I go to bed. So I noticed I was writing, and writing is just still something I have to work on. So I started writing, and my mind thinks so quick that my hand, I just put the pen down. So what I did was I started writing it in my brain because my mental capacity has gotten very strong. And I'm noticing that when I write it out, it's like a bit of weight is being released. It's like I got a whole lot of dead weight that I didn't realize. A lot of worrying, unnecessary worrying, a lot of being in my own way. And when I do these exercises now in my brain, as soon as I'm finished, it's like, oh, there go 5 pounds of unnecessary weight dropped off. But I realized I got a whole lot of, because I felt like I had to be so much and be so many, had to be different people in different avenues for different people my entire life. All of my 36 years, I say up until last year, I felt I had to be this for this person, this for this person. Now I'm realizing I don't have to be nothing for nobody but myself first. And I was never that.
I have one comment about your writing. So I'm not saying that you did it wrong. That's amazing that you did that, and I'm so proud of you. I want to tell you why I want you to write it on a pad of paper. There's something that happens when it goes from your brain to your hand to the paper. That's something cathartic happens. Also, you saw how your mind was so fast. You just were like, I put it down. I couldn't.
Mhm.
That's what the writing is meant to do. Bring your mind back and get to that presence. So that's why the exercise is so challenging, because your brain goes so fast and you're not totally present. So what I would suggest you do is keep at it and kind of make yourself right for that 10 minutes and try to bring your, sounds like a bird sanctuary outside. Do you hear this? It's like squawking happening right outside my window. I'm sorry. It sounds like I'm at the zoo.
I don't hear anything.
Anyway, so that's my suggestion, because I think that it will bring you back to that present moment, which is where we got to get you. Because in that present moment is when you can really love and value yourself.
Understood. Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I hate writing too. I've always hated writing, and I didn't think I'd ever write again in my life because I could always type it, so why write? But Annie proved that wrong really quick, and I wrote basically till my fingers bled, and it is cathartic, and it does help. And there was days like Sunday where I was in a bad space and I wrote, because it does help. It helps to get it out of our heads. My mind doesn't stop. My mind is a million miles an hour. Yes, Kenny, my house is a zoo. My mind goes a million miles an hour and doesn't stop. Anyone who's had a conversation with me will tell you that, because my mind's on 20 conversations from them at that moment. Writing is just so amazing. I don't enjoy it all the time, and I really don't like it a ton. I still type quite a bit. Most of my writing now is typing, but when I'm really in a space that I need to clear my head out, I write. And then Sid usually takes a pad and runs all over it. It's just the way it works. But this whole thing, Jairus, like, you're worried about not being humbled anymore. You know why you don't have to worry about that? Because you keep saying that to yourself. And honestly, I had the same issue, right? And for me, I put myself in situations where I wanted others to be there and fill voids, and I wanted others to appreciate me because I didn't appreciate myself, and I wanted, I put myself in situations that became very uncomfortable when I started filling my own voids, right? And very uncomfortable when I started appreciating myself, because the outside stuff doesn't matter as much. I don't post for to get attention. I don't post to look for vanity. I mean, I very rarely post, and when I post now, I'm looking to reach that one person. Like, that's all I'm looking to reach. And it's amazing, right? Like, if you reach that one person, it's a win. I mean, it's great to build a network. It's great to build relationship. It's great to, build community.
Can you slow down on the comments, because there's a couple ones I want to talk about. Go down to Yanis's. I think that's true. The most challenging yet the most effective antibiotic there is, receiving love the way we should. It's what I learned was it's receiving love in our lives the way we want to. The way we want to is often doesn't align with how we get the love given to us. So when you can figure out and go back and talk to your inner child about receiving love and give that child what little Jairus needs, that's when things start to change, because that's when you start to build your worth cup up. Hey, Mary. And then Carl Sean had a good comment too. Go ahead.
Hey, Mary. But it's about doing the work and understanding how you need to receive it too. Like this is not like, let's jump steps and just start giving ourselves love in 5 different ways. until we find the right one. We've got to figure out the one how we wanted and needed to receive it, that we didn't. My parents tried the best they could. It wasn't a perfect childhood. It wasn't good in lots of ways, but they did the best they could, right? And some of it was generational, some of it was whatever. But it just wasn't what I needed to feel and how I needed to feel it, and I needed to go back and identify how I needed to feel it, and then start showing it to myself in that way. The good news is, in the last 16 months, I've had plenty of quality time with myself. So that's not an issue. The rest of them still obviously not, but it's okay. I mean, I do the best I can with where I'm at the moment, right? And that's all we can do. There is no perfect. There is the best we can do, and just doing the best we can each day. Jairus, this is one step at a time. And, when looking in the mirror and looking at others, you need to do the same thing, which is follow your intuition. Like, your intuition is so right on, and you ignore it most of the time because you feel bad. And
you get in your own way.
Right. And you feel bad because you don't value yourself enough. That's the reality. You are trying to control your pain in your life by keeping people around you that create pain for you because you don't want loss. And I know because I did it. I know because I did it my whole life. That's not how I live today. If somebody's in my life in any capacity, it's because I want them to be there. It's because I appreciate them, I respect them, I honor them, and I accept them for everything that they are. That's the only people that are in my life today. And it's funny because if you look over the last year of my life, my favorites in my phone have changed so much. People who I speak to the most has changed so much. People who I reach out to has really dwindled, not because I don't care, but because I am my own priority right now. Getting myself to a position where I'm at so that I can be of service to most in the best ways possible is the most important aspect of where I'm at today. Because I can't be here for Sid. I can't be here for Thomas. I can't be here for Michelle if I'm not here.
For you.
For me. I mean, I couldn't be here for me right now. My focus is on me and what I'm working on. And if people in my life don't understand that, I'm sorry, but that's not my problem. It's just not.
But it takes work to get there, Mike, right? I mean, this is not
this is not an overnight thing.
It's definitely a place where Jared, like what I'm talking about, doing that writing and working these steps that we're talking about and beginning where you are and reclaiming your power and all these ways and things that you're doing. Look how much progress you've made in just a couple weeks of us talking through this. I mean, your whole demeanor and languaging is different, as I said before. So think about doing that for 6 months.
Right.
I mean, it's however old you are, it took that many years to get here, right? So it's not going to take a couple weeks to start over. I mean, we got to build that worth cup, and we have to make little Jairus feel loved and secure, because in a lot of ways he didn't. And that's okay. It's not anybody's fault, as I said. And I don't try to place blame. I mean, I don't know if I totally agree with they did the best they could with that whole line of thinking. Is not my favorite line of thinking. I mean, sort of, but also it's like, take some responsibility for the ways that you treated your children and the things that you did. But, that's neither here nor there. The bottom line is all I have is me right now and who I am and what I can do and what I can make of this life in this moment and these days and the kind of parent I am. And that's another thing to motivate you too about valuing yourself and finding your worth is how you role model and how you model the way for your kids. You don't want, think about sometimes when you have trouble making that decision, what advice would you give your son? When I put myself in my daughter's role or my son's role, I have a much easier time cutting something off or making that decision or saying, of course not. But when it's me, I'll take the shit under the stick. It's like, no, I got to step up and treat myself the way I would treat a best friend or a child.
Yeah. I just want to touch on what Mike was saying briefly because I resonated very well with what you were saying. And you are spot on with it. Of course, you know, but that was my problem. Keeping people in place for my own personal agendas too. You know, not even I can be honest with myself. Some of the toxicity was on my end. You know, it wasn't just them. Because that one thing I do love about me, everybody knows how I am. They know. Once I'm fed up, I'm fed up. So everybody would just tiptoe around me and play cool because I'm still a straight up person at the end of the day. But I wasn't doing myself any justice. So what I'm starting to do now, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to keep pausing because it's a gift and a curse because I'm so in tune. I learn and I grow so much, so easily because I'm always learning that I have to give myself time to process all this stuff because I know I can process it. So by me knowing that, sometimes I give myself too much credit and say, Jared, you got it, man. You always gonna get it. But these things are delicate now. Like y'all are saying, I have to put the work in to make sure that these things are lining up with my core values, even knowing deeper what my core values are.
What do you think is standing out to you besides loyalty as a core value as much as loyalty is? Because I think that's your overarching.
Loyalty, strength.
Strength.
Yeah, I just love strength. That's another reason why I put up with a lot of stuff. Because I'm like, I'm a strong person, but it's not really strength if you are doing it to yourself. That's a little insanity, I'm thinking.
What do you think, Jairus, about vulnerability?
I love being vulnerable because
what does that mean to you? What does being vulnerable mean?
Being vulnerable means when I first heard that word vulnerability, I didn't know. To me, we say in the streets, keeping it real, keeping it 100, being me. That's why everybody loves me because I'm gonna be me, my true self. I don't have nothing to hide. That's what I think vulnerability means. Putting yourself out there the way you are, regardless who likes it, no judgment.
I like that. What do you think, Mike?
What's vulnerability?
No, I mean I wonder, I'm trying to figure out Jairus's core values with him. And I think that loyalty is huge. He said strength, and I was wondering if you saw vulnerability as a weakness. I wanted to make sure you didn't, and I don't think you do.
No, I think trust is an enormous one for him. I think trust is huge. He has to trust his people around him, and he has to know that they trust him. And I think some ways he's gone out of his way to try and prove that they should trust him, which also has been some of the reasons that he gets walked all over. And I know that because I did the same thing, right? I just didn't know. Apparently Sid just fell. Apparently I just never realized that, trust was my number one overarching core value. I'll be right back.
Why don't you mute, Mike? Oh, I can't even mute him because I'm not the host. Oh, man. I'm telling you, Jar. Yesterday he sent me a picture. Sid fell asleep eating at the table, and she was just asleep at the table. It was like cereal or something. And I said, that's an ad for Trojans. That should be in a magazine at an OBGYN. Right? She's just asleep and the ice cream, and now that she's screaming and everything's there were pieces of bread and stuff. And I was like, you are a walking child. Walking birth control. I mean, he's a walking ad for, an OBGYN office. Poor thing all by himself. So let me ask you this, Jairus, while I have you, just us, and Sid crying. What values do you want to instill in your children, especially you have one son?
I have a son and a daughter.
You have a son and a daughter. What values do you want to instill in your children?
Loyalty, trust, them the two right now. I had this stuff written down that I can go into detail when I was working out my core values, but I can't find it right now. But
that's
those
okay.
are the two that stand out. It's loyalty and trust.
Jairus, I think integrity is big for you too.
Yeah, that's huge.
Integrity is huge for you. Showing up. Keep going with emphasis.
People come.
I think showing up as you.
Yes.
And doing what you say you're going to do and being who you say you're going to be is huge for you. And that's what integrity is to me.
Yeah, because it's somehow in my brain not putting the weight on me because I can handle it. It doesn't bother me. But I feel like with so much going on in today's society, I want to be known as that person that if I can, I will. I'm not
Mhm.
gonna go out my way, but if I can, I will. I want to be someone else's strength because I didn't have nobody to look up to find strength in. Once I really got spiritual, but looking back a little Jerris, I realized I did have that spiritualness the whole time, and that was my aha moment. So I was like, "You carrying all this weight unnecessarily," and then on top of that, I was never alone. Even till this day, I'm still not alone.
You're never alone. You always have yourself. You always have yourself. That's my quote. I am never alone. I will never leave myself. I always have myself. Like that's the truth of the matter. Like you will never be alone, Jairus, because you
Mm-hmm.
have yourself, which you were missing for a long time. Now you're finding yourself,
Yeah.
and you never have to be alone.
This letter to self, I'm not getting into too much detail, but I wrote a letter to myself on April the 15th. And I just started out saying, you have to stop allowing others to use you or feel like they're even using me. And that's something big too, because I can sense when somebody is thinking that they're getting over, but I don't check it at the doorway because I know me. It's hard to get over on me because if I do something, I'm going to do it out of love. And if I don't want to do it, I have no problem speaking my mind. I don't have an issue saying, look, that's enough. But me writing this letter, it's got me reflecting by me wanting to be that example. Sometimes I am allowing myself to be used because, like Mike said, I want to be the person that I'm having my mind.
As you build your worth and your value in yourself, you're going to understand that people are going to do what they're going to do. You be you and who you are. Show up as you. And what they do is not a reflection of your worth. So, what's happening to you is people are acting in certain ways, and you're looking at it as a reflection of your worth.
You're right. So, what's a step to help me do that? I think just by me trying to answer my own question would be focusing on myself because I know that I walk in truth. And if people can't see that, then I don't have to worry about that at all. I think that's one step.
Knowing your core values and aligning everything you do with them. For example, your loyalty and trust, you should be loyal as you need to be and want to be. And you should trust as much as you want to be and stop trying to be somebody that you're not. And everybody else is going to do what they're going to do. And that's on them.
And Jairus, I got news for you. It's still not gonna make it perfect. I mean, I still have issues with that all the time, right? Like there's still certain people that I it impacts how I value myself based on their actions. And I think that's part of the lessons, right? That's part of the learning and again, I mean, this is, continual evolution, right? Like we're working forward every single day. We're not stopping. And this is perpetual growth, which is an enormous core value of mine also. I need continuous evolution. I need continuous mental stimulation to learn, to evolve, to grow, to guide, to help others. Those are things that really line with my core values also. And you do as well. I mean, you're always learning. I mean, you sit on lives and take notes, Jairus. Like you care. You want to be better. You want to be better for you, not for anyone else. You're not doing this to help it, to show anyone else anything. You're doing this to prove it to yourself. So you're building your worth every single day. You're building your personal value every single day because you're doing it. You're living it. You're in it, and it takes time. I mean, I did so much work at such a rapid pace, and like I was just addicted to healing in every way, and I'm healing this way and doing this, and 20 hours a day I'm healing. I didn't break, I didn't breathe, I didn't pause. But that's also where I was at the time, and I needed that because that's just where I was at. and you're taking a pause, you're breathing, you're looking at where you're at, you're evaluating it, and you're being self-aware. Just don't ever turn the self-awareness into a negative. Don't allow that to swallow you whole. Which is why, Annie and I did the reframe, right? That's why instead of me being over analytical, it's hyper acutely self-aware. Because for me, I had to do a positive reframe on it. I had to flip it so that I could really look at how I stay in my core values each day. Because that means something to me. That carries me through. That carries me through every single moment of every day. Is realizing that the people around me today value me for who I am. The people I am today appreciate me for who and what I am. They don't ask me to compromise my values. And if they do, they're very quickly removed from my life. There is no more compromise for me.
And it's a process.
Yeah.
It's a process, and it's a slow journey. You're going to have slip ups. We all do. Everything I'm saying, I'm not preaching from a place of and this is what I do and it's perfect. It's far from that. I got to check myself every day. But I will tell you that every day I'm closer to being that person. Every day I'm closer to being more and more whole because I stand in myself and I stand in my truth.
Yeah.
And that's what you're starting to do, figuring out what your truth exactly is. Those are the steps. You say, what's the next step? That's what you're doing. The work is figuring out what makes Jairus Jairus. Loyalty, trust, integrity. These are the things that you want to live in, step into every day on your way to your soul center.
Question.
Yes.
So I'm listening to you all. A light bulb just came on, and I should have been caught this, but my core values have changed.
Mm-hmm.
They were certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm unlearning, looking at myself, I'm realizing those are not my core values. And I remember last week Mike was saying, and I didn't get it till just now, the reason why I'm having issues with people now is because our core values don't line up. They did line up. Now that they're not lining up. So my question is, knowing that, how do I figure out what are my new core values? What is the step? I know you got the personality test. It's like a core value test. So how do I know? Because you're asking me. Only thing I can think of is loyalty and trust. But I know there's more.
I'm going to argue with one thing and then let Mike talk. Your core values never changed. You just figured out, you got closer to what they really are. They didn't change. You evolved as a person, but you got closer and closer to aligning with what your core values really are. You thought they were different than they are.
There's negotiables and non-negotiables, right? Non-negotiables are who we are at our core. The other ones come and go and waver with the seasons of life and as we shift and go through different periods of life. But the core, at our deepest root of our core, doesn't shift, doesn't change, doesn't move. And those are our non-negotiables. And those are the things where people are either in our lives or not in our lives. And those are the ones that rub us so wrong way that we question ourselves. And when you're leaning into empathy, you're going to make those misguided judgments quite often. But I've got to tell you, leaning into intuition, those judgments really fall by the wayside. Because the minute that my values don't align with people in my life, they start naturally moving further away from me because it's not aligning anymore. I'm not in the same place I was. And the other thing is, over the last 16 months, I've learned to be patient. I've never been patient in my whole life, ever. But boy, did I get tested. Boy, did I have lessons. Boy, have I learned patience. And in some ways, I am still not patient. Because I want things on my time, damn it. I don't want to wait. I've been waiting for fucking ever. I've been out here stranded. I don't want to wait anymore. But you know what? Sometimes we're just meant to wait. And it sucks. And it's not fun. And it doesn't make it easier. But here's the reality. If we can be that patient with others, and if we can be that patient with different processes and companies and projects and businesses and people, why are we not that patient with ourselves? Why don't we have the understanding, the self-awareness, the self-compassion, the self-love for ourselves? And Giannis made a comment about, is about our parents, and here's the thing, right? Like, and I truly believe on some level they did the best they could at the moment with where they were at. I don't agree with it. I don't condone it. I don't condone actions. But what I do is let it go. And I can't hold on to it anymore. So I let it go in the best way that I know how. And that's it. As far as this comment from Giannis, the reality is I don't give a shit about a celebrity. I can care less what they believe. I don't care what their thoughts are, and I don't care how they made their money. It doesn't matter to me. That doesn't make them anything special in my book. They're just another person. You want to be special, you want to do something, go make impact. Go impact souls. Go be Mother Teresa. Not that you have to do it in her way, but be something like that. Go reach as many people as you can and make a ripple effect to change souls. Who the hell cares about a magazine cover? Who cares about being on a Bravo show and having billions of dollars? Because at the end of the day, they're empty. They're empty. There's nothing there. The only person we have to prove anything to is ourselves. In the minute that we start proving things to ourselves, in the minute that we start standing in our power, the rest of it falls by the wayside. And the right people get attracted to us. We don't have to look anymore. You don't have to seek. You don't have to chase. Because you know what? The people that mean that much to you and the people that you mean that much to, if they are falling behind or taking a detour, they're going to chase you. Because they're not going to want to lose you.
Mike, it's not like I'm laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because you've been saying the same thing over.
We are very consistent, Jared.
He's not changed.
He doesn't change what he says.
No. I just explained it with a few different words.
This is what happens with Mike. Like, I'll say something like, oh, so that thing. And he's like, I've been saying this for a year. You just figured it out. Now you see, Annie. And I'm like, oh, okay. You can only see it when you're ready to see it, Jared. He could say it till he's blue in the face, and so can I. When you're ready, you will see it.
But here's the good news. I'm pretty damn stubborn, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. And I'll say it till you're ready to listen. Because I will be that person. When somebody means something to me, I'll be that person in their life. I have no problem being that.
Giannis asked another question.
Yeah, I see that. Are some of us perfectionists, Michael, or is it just superior performance? Isn't it the same thing? I mean, isn't it the same core reason that we need to be perfectionists?
Mm-hmm.
That we feel the purpose of is to be an overachiever to find our own value? For me, I've never really been much of a perfectionist. I spent most of my life being a career underachiever so that there was never any expectations of me. And I kept a very low bar for myself, too. And there's many.
I'm the opposite of that. So I understand that question. And I understand what it feels like to want to have everything exactly perfect. And it's a lot of friggin' pressure.
But I believe there's ways to come back from that also. I mean, there's ways to come back from everything. You've got to just go to your core. Because the minute you start finding your core, the rest of it works out.
Mm-hmm. And Jairus, you asked earlier about how do you find your core? How do I really dig in and find my core values? You're doing it. This is what you're doing. You're talking about who you are, what matters to you, what makes up the fabric of your being, what you want to role model for your children, what you would tell your best friend, who you are in your daily life. Those are your core values. You're digging into this with your writing, with your letter to your younger self, with talking about this and asking questions. This is the work.
Last question, y'all. And I heard you say this a lot, Mike. Getting out of my own way. I think I'm doing it. And the only reason why I say I know I'm doing it. Let me say that. I know I'm doing it, right? but I just want to be reassured because I need that sometimes. I'm very confident in myself, but sometimes I do need to be reassured. So you would tell me this a lot. Get out of your own way. Now that I'm open and mindful, what were you meaning by that specifically, as far as I'm concerned? I want you to be straight up like you always are.
I mean, part of it was I needed to hear it myself. Part of it, I still need to hear it myself on a daily basis. I'm always in my own way. Nobody else blocks me. I'm in my own way. I still work on that daily. I still try to overthink things. I still try to overanalyze things to break it down to make different ways of doing things. The reality is, until I start fully allowing in any circumstance or situation, all I do is trying to control it. And, the reality is to get to a place of absence of control because, anytime we're trying to control it, there's an underlying undertone of what we're trying to control. And it usually comes down to the pain that we're feeling or the pain that we will feel or the pain that's going to be around it. And, it doesn't make things easier. It doesn't make things better. Controlling it makes us crazy, makes us nuts, makes us act outside of our core values. It's something I work on daily. I'm still not perfect with it.
It's exhausting.
It is exhausting.
Exhausting.
It is. And it's challenging.
But Jairus, you need to repeat after me, okay? Jairus.
Jairus.
I am getting out of my own way.
I am getting out of my own way.
I am moving out of my own way.
I am moving out of my own way.
You don't need, and we're done repeating. You don't need, we keep repeating what I say. You don't need anybody to reassure you, Jairus. You reassure yourself. You don't need reassurance from anybody. You know you're doing it.
You want to prove it to yourself, go watch the episode from 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly.
See the difference in yourself in 3 weeks. You really want to prove it to yourself. See it from 3 weeks ago. It's an enormous difference. Enormous. You're doing the work. You're asking for work. I don't know how many weeks in a row Annie wants to do this show back to back to hers, but you're both shining right now because you're putting her in a position to share knowledge and wisdom with you, and you're putting yourself in a place to receive it. And that's like a gift. And it's a gift to everyone who watches it and everyone who sits through this. Because this is sharing true wisdom and this is sharing true experience. This is an opportunity for us all to grow and learn together. Because the truth of the matter is, I'm still not there yet. There is no there. This is a daily journey. This is progress, not perfection. This is one foot in front of the other. We're never there unless we're dead. Then we're there. And I'm not in a rush to get there. I spent my whole life trying to get there. It didn't work, so I'm not in a rush anymore.
You're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're right where you're supposed to be. Your progress is incredible. Your vulnerability is incredible. Your willingness and open-mindedness is incredible. You're doing it. You're doing the work. It's beautiful to see.
Thank you. I received that.
I received that.
Thank you.
Yes, I see a great change in you, Jairus Tucker.
Who was that? Say that. Oh, yes.
Sure.
Thank you.
So
I
nice.
see a change in you, too. Thank you for the support, as well as everybody else in the comment section. Thank you.
Thanks for having me again, guys.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I love being on the show with men. Tough men and Annie.
It's up to Jairus and you how often you come back. So you guys figure it out.
Well, this is just me throwing it out there. I don't want to be too early because I know we're live, but I want people to see what's going on because you all have something special going on too, right? It's not just about me because I'm gonna do this, y'all. This is who I am. I'm gonna learn. I'm just glad that we are putting it on a platform so other people can see the work that has to be put in based on the program that you all have set up.
And see the progress in you over such a short time. People that want to get motivated to step into themselves, into their soul center, they just have to watch the last few episodes. That's the truth.
It's the truth.
You're doing it. You're not trying. You're doing it.
And this I know. I know that, y'all. I
know that.
just be in my way sometimes. I mean,
Yeah, it's
sometimes
all
I
right.
like being in my own way, to be honest. Sometimes I do. I mean,
We get comfortable there sometimes. Sometimes it's a comfy, cozy place to be, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to kick your ass right out of your own way.
All right.
Well, I think we call that a show, and we'll just see if Annie shows up again and go from there.
Jairus, I'm so proud of you. Mike, thanks for having me. Thank you both.
Thank you for coming. We are proud of you being able, like Mike say, display your wisdom to a student. And we all, not just me and you, there's so many people that are going to benefit, that have already benefit just from what we're doing. So I'm going to rock it till the wheels fall off.
Go put it in the sink.
Me too, man. Me too. I'm here.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Good night, everybody.